Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Leo Koziol. I'm of the Ngāti Rākaipaka and Ngāti Kahungunu tribe of the Māori people of New Zealand. And for the past 17 years, I've been running the Māori Film Festival of New Zealand in my home community of Wairoa. I'm also the Indigenous editor for Letterboxd, a new platform for discussions of film all around the world with a new journal platform as well. Before we are joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a non-profit organisation that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the Foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce actor Brooklyn Letexier-Hart and director-writer Danis Goulet of Night Raiders. It's a real privilege to talk to both Brooklyn and Danis, who are part of this amazing new film called Night Raiders. It's been released all around the world, including here in New Zealand, and I understand across the United States and Canada. And so I just want to start with you, Danis, as the director. How did the ensemble cast for your film come together?
Yeah, I mean, it was a process that we began well before we went into production. We worked with U.S. casting director Renee Haynes because we know we wanted to search far and wide to find our Wasis, which is, of course, the brilliant Brooklyn Letexier-Hart who's joining us. And yeah, we looked all over North America for her. We looked at about 300 girls. And Renee has really great connections into different communities across North America. And then finally, as we were getting closer to production, we found Brooklyn in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is the province next to my home province of Saskatchewan. And a local casting director there brought her in for the role of Victoria, which was a different role. And as soon as I saw her, I said, bring her back for Wasis. And she blew it away, and she was definitely the one, and it was really incredible. And then for Elamaya, I had known her, who plays Niska, the other co-lead. I had known her mainly as a director. She's the co-director of this brilliant film, The Body Remembers When the World Broke Open, which she also co-starred in. And her audition came in, and I was like, oh, there she is. I kind of forgot she was an actor as well. And then when we brought her back for the callback, I was in tears by the end of the audition. It was so brilliant. And then for the role of Ida, I always knew I wanted the amazing Gail Maurice, who's been an actor for the very first film set that I was ever on as a youngster back in 1998 had Gail Maurice in it. And she's not only a brilliant and talented actor, but also a Cree speaker from my home province of Saskatchewan. So to bring all of that together was really important to me. And then we also worked with the elder Pauline Shirt, who had never acted before in a film, but has so much presence, and her voice takes us into the movie. And then, of course, Alex Tarrant, who was the Māori actor that we found through our producer, Ainsley Gardner, who connected us to the community there. And we're so lucky to find him as our Leo. And then the cast was rounded out by Violet Nelson, who also co-starred along Elmaya in The Body Remembers. And then a youngster, Jordan Bullchild, who we also just found in Edmonton, Alberta. So yeah, it was a really amazing process. And I'm so thrilled with how everyone's incredible chemistry. And yeah, I'm just so proud of what everybody did.
And so Brooklyn, can you talk a bit about your experience of being cast into the film, and which I think has really launched your career in acting?
So like Danis said, I got another call to do Wasis's audition, and I remember being very nervous because this is when I first started doing like actual auditions, and I was really nervous, and I wanted to make a good impression, and I honestly didn't really think much would come out of it, because I wasn't very confident in my acting at that time, and when I met Danis, I felt like safe in a way, and I wasn't nervous anymore. It was really nice to talk to her when we first met. We cleared the room and we played some games, and we got to know each other, and I felt really good about that. I felt so much more comfortable, and I felt way better about it. And I remember when I got the call back, the official call back for Wasis, I was on the way home from hockey camp, on the bus, and it was a silent bus ride because everyone was asleep, really. And as soon as my mom called me, she gave me the news, and I just got up and started like jumping and yelling, "Yes, yes!" And then my friend was getting really excited too, because I told her I auditioned for something, and I really wanted to get a call back because I was really interested in it. So we celebrated, and then I went to go see some family, and we got food, and I was just so happy to finally have like a big break, and especially so early in my career. So I was really lucky.
And Brooklyn, so what was your experience like, for the first time being on a big set in an acting role, and particularly playing such a pivotal role in the movie?
It was a big learning experience, being new to the industry, not really knowing how a lot of stuff works. I learned a lot from filming on Night Raiders. And of course, Elmaya and Danis were like mentors to me. They guided me through it. I felt very comfortable, and every day I was excited to go to work. I was just excited to be back on set, to see everyone, and I think that filming this movie helped me become so much more confident in my acting. From Danis and Elmaya guiding me through the process.
Brooklyn, how was your experience different, say, being part of an Indigenous production?
I was especially excited to be a part of an Indigenous production because I felt like I had a connection to everyone. And, when we got to Smudge and there was the elders, or, the special scenes with the singing and, the ceremony scenes and stuff, I felt so comfortable and safe, and it was so nice to see other Indigenous people. And now I mostly only work with Indigenous people.
Oh, that's fantastic. Danis, just to turn to you, so what were the specificities and challenges in terms of having a film with such a strong child cast?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there was so much on Brooklyn's shoulders, and it's a huge ask of any actor, let alone someone who, was 13 at the time that we shot. Part of the movie is carried on the character Wasis's shoulders. And so, it was really important to me that that Brooklyn felt safe and comfortable, and we did some work in rehearsal getting ready, but also, one of my first jobs in the industry, and I started out in the casting department, and I've always taken issue a little bit with the audition process, which I think is really awkward and uncomfortable. And it's sort of like actors walk into a room and they slate immediately, and then it's like one after the other after the other. And it's very hard to make that personal, and also to create a kind of environment where it doesn't feel quite so cold. And so, like Brooklyn said, from the moment I brought her in, I try to allow the actors to take their time. There's no rush. We don't need to get on to the next person. And so I cleared the room of everybody, because there's also that sort of intimidating desk and the camera, and then you walk in slate and then it's rolling. And especially for folks that haven't, been through that process a lot, I think experienced actors certainly are used to that. But I just cleared the room, cleared the table out of the way, and Brooklyn and I just started playing games. And to me that, it's a way to allow folks to feel ownership over the space, to claim it, to feel comfortable, and to feel like it's a space where they can move their bodies and try things and explore. And so right away, it was really important for me to set that context of kind of like understanding that what we're doing is not set in stone, or it doesn't have me predetermining the way I think Brooklyn should perform or deliver lines, that this is a space for us to explore and make discoveries together and move our bodies. And so I try to take risks along with the actors so that they know that I'm not asking them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. But this was a challenging role. And also because we were delving into residential school history, because the film is an allegory for what that policy did to Indigenous families, there's an extra ask. I know that all actors, of course, bring their lived experience to the roles, but this policy touches all aspects of Indigenous life in Canada. So there's no family that doesn't have experience with this. It's our aunties, it's our parents, it's our grandparents that attended the schools. And so in that context, you also have to create a process that is, safe in some ways. And one of the first things that I think is important to come out of the gates with is creating a space where we say that our cultural practices and values will be valued in this space. So it's like what Brooklyn is referencing is that we consider ourselves, yes, we're a big movie set, and that comes with all of the regular set culture aspects of it. We know sets are very hierarchical, but what we tried to do was contextualize that space as Indigenous first. And so, we had an elder open us in the right way. We always had smudges available to the actors if they needed that, and ways of working through the difficult things that we were trying to tackle in the telling of the story.
It feels like a paradigm shift, really, in terms of the process of filmmaking, because the process of filmmaking can be notoriously stressful and long hours. So I assume having a large child and young people cast, you had to limit the hours of the production and also have coaching for the young actors?
Yeah, we had, I know there was a tutor available for Brooklyn, and of course you have very set hours that you do and breaks built into the process. I mean, it still is challenging, it's still long hours, and it's still a big ask of a 13-year-old, which was just something that we were always trying to be aware of. Brooklyn's, in an amazing position that she has an incredible mother, Carmen, that was just had her back like every step of the way. And I think, the parents in these situations make a really big difference as well. And it was so, like Brooklyn came into this production, with such an acute awareness of the story we were telling. Like, she's strong in her culture and just brought so much of that. And Carmen, her mom, had such a big part in that as well. And so I just feel so grateful to both of them for the way that they contributed in such a huge way.
Brooklyn, looking at the craft of being an actor, what challenges do you think you faced in terms of performing this role?
Well, of course, there's always the challenge of doing very emotional or scenes that might feel uncomfortable in a way, with the difficult stuff we're covering. But like Danis said, there was always, there's breaks, and we talked everything through, and it was a process that we all went through together as cast and crew. And I think that was the only challenge because, everything was so well prepared for production. And I find it very important to introduce yourself to a lot of people during production, especially crew, not just cast. Doesn't matter who they are. It's good to know everyone's names and try to know them the best of your ability in a personal way, because it definitely helps in production and just feeling comfortable in the space that you're using.
How did you find working with the other young people who were fellow actors in the film?
Because, first in the film, there's not much young people, but then when I got to meet Burva, who plays Victoria, it was nice to see some other young people my age, and especially the other girls who were in the academy, like the other actors. It was nice to, do those scenes with just a bunch of other people my age. It just felt fun, and it felt like I was like a kid, just having fun with other people my age.
Yeah, so it would be fantastic that you're having an enjoyable time on the set. But how did you feel with the fact that the film was dealing with, I guess, some quite heavy subject matter?
Well, like Danis said, I'm very present in my culture and what happened to the people in my culture, and my family. Almost all of my family was affected by residential schools, and the 60s scoop, and just racism. And both my parents and my sisters always made it was very important for us to be very present and, learn about our culture, because sometimes, it feels parents, it's hard stuff to talk about, so they don't tell their kids. But, I find it important to know this stuff.
Yes, I do understand it's a very heavy time in North America and Canada right now. So I do hope the film and your role in it gives some healing to the audience, as well as the joy of just seeing so many Native people on screen. So Danis, back to you. What were the challenges around having so much Indigenous language Cree scripting? And, were all the actors fluent Cree speakers, or did some had to kind of go through a learning process?
Actually, the Cree part wasn't as challenging as it might have been. My dad's a fluent Cree speaker, and so he just comes in and he provided so much translation for the film. And then the characters that spoke the most Cree, which were Ida and Elder Chachagi in the story, were both fluent Cree speakers already. And then the other characters spoke a little bit of Cree, but they only had to say a few words here and there. So that was easy to sort of practice. But yeah, mostly it was on Gail Maurice, and she's fluent. And so in some ways on set, it's kind of amazing. You can work very organically through the scenes in the same way you would in English. But that, I would say, for myself personally, I'm not a fluent Cree speaker, but I can understand a fair bit. And those scenes on set were joyful. They were so joyful. Like part of what colonization attempted to do was erase Indigenous people, of course, but also through taking away and the, forbidding us to speak our own languages. And so that process of reclamation that so many communities are doing is so beautiful. But for that to sort of live through the film in some way, where we're actually putting the language on screen and we're celebrating it and we're working in the language, is feels healing and beautiful and incredible. And those scenes in the camp where we're shooting in Cree were just magic. We were in a cedar forest and it was at night, and then we shot some stuff in the teepee, and we had already gone through a lot of the difficult shooting, at the academy, and the kind of spaces that were difficult to be in. So by the time we got to the forest, it was so amazing to experience that part of the shoot. It was really incredible. And I feel like the cast just felt like a big family at that point.
Brooklyn, back to you. Can you name an actor or male or female who inspired you to become an actor?
Well, of course, talking to Elmaya, I already wanted to be an actor, but just her telling the stories and, seeing production and, the way everyone is so close, like a family, it definitely inspired me to, keep going in this career. And as it goes for actors, quite a bit of people that inspire me. But like I said, Winona Ryder, Angelina Jolie, Nina Dobrev. I used to watch her in The Vampire Diaries growing up for years, just rewatch that show over and over again. I loved how she played two different characters who are so different, but it felt so natural and authentic in both roles, which, got me into doing auditions where, you audition for two people at once.
We're nearing the end of the interview, so here's a few wrap-up questions. So Brooklyn, what's next for you in terms of other acting roles you're pursuing?
Right now, I am just about to finish a project I've been working on this month that I'm very excited to come out. And I have another project that I might be working on next summer, which I'm very excited about. Right now, my career is just kind of skyrocketing. I'm getting a lot of offers and auditions, and I'm really excited to see what comes next.
Oh, congratulations. It's an exciting time for Indigenous film all over the world. And Danis, what's coming up for you next?
Yeah, I'm in post-production on a Netflix thriller right now. And then after that, I want to go home to Saskatchewan and start development on a project that I got financing from the Indigenous Screen Office here up in Canada to develop. And I just feel so lucky to be at this point. I've been around, grew up in the Indigenous screen community since the early 2000s, and we have found ourselves in a moment that is an explosion of Indigenous film, and we have fought so hard and so long to get here, and it feels so incredible to be at this moment and also to bring the cast together and to celebrate the talent of folks like Brooklyn, who is a rising star. And, we used to say to anyone who would listen, just give us the resources and the opportunities and we will show you what's possible. And I feel like there are so many filmmakers and actors that are proving that that's true. And so it's a really exciting time right now.
Oh, so the question in my mind then, and I'll ask this for you, Danis, first, and then turn to you, Brooklyn, and that's, what advice would you give? I'll be specifically to up-and-coming young Indigenous people who are wanting to become actors and act in, this dynamic new Indigenous film industry that's emerging?
Yeah, I would say that it's really important to find like-minded people and the folks that really want to support you. And for me, when I first moved to Toronto from Saskatchewan, I was a youngster wanting to get involved in film. And it was when I came into the community that is created around the Imaginative Film Festival that I really found my community. And it's those peers that I return to over and over again when I need support, because it's a challenging industry. And whether you're an actor or filmmaker, there's going to be so many ups and downs. And so you just need to have those folks that share the values and share the passion that you do for why you're doing it. So I would say find those folks and then you'll be good to go.
I've been to Imaginative many times, and every time I go there, it just feels like one big warm hug. So aroha, that's the Māori word for love. Love to you both that, COVID has taken away kind of the free association and connection we always had at those festivals, but hopefully things will return. I know you're at a film festival right now. So Brooklyn, your advice to other young Indigenous actors wanting to take the leap as you so wonderfully have?
So what I would really say is I've seen a lot of other actors, feel discouraged and say, oh, I wish I am able to get into a very big production like Hollywood. And what I like to say is, it doesn't matter the budget or how big the production is, it's the story it's telling. So it doesn't matter to me what the budget is or that kind of stuff. It's the stories that I get to be in and represent, and the characters I get to portray.
Danis, what's your favorite Indigenous film of all time? One that you didn't make?
Oh my goodness, that is such a tough question because there's so many that I love. There's a film that I love by the great Zacharias Canuck, who's a Inuk filmmaker from the far north, and it's called The Journals of Knud Rasmussen. And he's, of course, known for Atanarjuat the Fast Runner, but The Journals of Knud Rasmussen has not been seen enough, and it is so beautiful. It's just blew me away when I saw it. But I also could not let this go without mentioning the great Alanis Obomsawin and her body of over 40 documentaries. She's regarded as the grandmother of Indigenous cinema, and we have we're so indebted to everything that she's done.
Oh, kia ora, as we say here amongst the Māori people of New Zealand. And Brooklyn, I'll ask your question a little bit differently. What's your favorite young person film that you've watched, maybe even recently?
For shows, it's Reservation Dogs at the moment. It's so funny. It's my family's favorite. And for Maori movies, one of my favorites at the moment is Once Were Warriors.
Wow.
My mom and dad watched that all the time growing up, and I recently just watched it again, and it's a very, heavy story, but I love the Maori culture, and I love that movie.
Yeah, I just want to thank you both so much for coming on. Actually, let's just do one last shout out from you both. Danis, just do a little shout out to end our interview.
Yeah, I just want to say Kinanas Gomtin, which is thank you from my heart. Thank you so much. It was great to see you, Brooklyn, and thank you, Leo.
Oh, a privilege for me, and a shout out from you, please, Brooklyn.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun doing this, and it was nice to meet you, and it was really nice to see Danis.
On behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, process, and craft with your fellow performers.